Continuamos con la presentación magistral.
Presentación magistral. Inteligencia artificial y sus impactos. Jason Urso, CTO de Honeywell. Presentadora. Tiffany Lemonnier, gerente senior de proyecto senior de Arpel.
Tiene la palabra la doctora Tiffany.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Voy a pasar al inglés como nuestro disertante es de habla inglesa. It's a pleasure for me to introduce this keynote speech about artificial intelligence and its impacts. This presentation will be closing the section of the agenda dedicated to the future of work. Artificial intelligence might be the trending topic nowadays in society, with lots of challenges, opportunities, and concerns. Our speaker today is Jason Urso, CTO from Honeywell. Unfortunately, for a last-minute matter, Jason could not travel and be here in Cartagena today, and thus is connected remotely from Atlanta in the US, which is actually an excellent example of the digital transformation we are living today. Welcome, Jason, and the floor, well, actually, the screen is yours.
Okay, terrific. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you can go
Okay,
ahead.
great. Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I do apologize for the last-minute travel complication that didn't allow me to be in person, but like was mentioned, we'll use the power of technology and digitalization to overcome the problem. So allow me to get started and talk a little bit about digitalization and artificial intelligence and how it relates to the things that we deal with in our everyday lives, and then how it will affect us in industry. So if we think about what's happening in the world around us, the world is actually changing at an unprecedented pace. We're more mobile and more connected than at any time in our history. We're making decisions faster and more precisely. And if we think about it, digitalization is really changing everything in our lives. It's changing many aspects of how we work. It's changing how we work in a way that allows us to be more productive than ever before. It's also changing how we drive, allowing us to operate a vehicle more safely. And it's changing how we interact with one another, allowing for seamless collaboration. Digitalization technologies, including artificial intelligence, are making a profound change in productivity, safety, and collaboration. It's affecting everything in all aspects of our lives. So let me share a little bit more detail in each one of these areas in order to get started with how digitalization is affecting the way we work as a first step. So let's first consider how we've worked over the past 10 years. If we think about how to make a good data-based decision in our work lives, we've traditionally spent a significant amount of effort first gathering all the data in order to make that decision. The reason is often because we have many disparate systems with many different methods of connectivity. The effort to collect the data can sometimes be as much as 80% of the time spent in order to address a problem. And often that data collection is performed by an expert. Once the data is collected, then it's often put in a custom spreadsheet that is typically only relevant for the expert that happened to collect the data. Once the expert has collected the data and has it in the custom spreadsheet, then they perform analysis based on their many years of experience. And in this case, what we find is that we're applying a tremendous amount of effort in order to utilize talented, experienced individuals to perform basic tasks like collecting the data and organizing it. And then we're entirely dependent on their personal expertise in order to make a good decision. As such, our decisions that we make in business historically have had great variation because it is very tied to the expertise of the individual or the human. This is not a scalable model for our businesses. So let's move forward from the way we used to do it and talk a little bit about how we're doing it today and how digitalization is starting to be applied. And by today, what I mean is let's talk about perhaps over the last 1 year. So if we think about today's approach, the focus has been more traditionally on making the data more accessible. So eliminating all of that manual data collection activity. And we've done so by centralizing and then contextualizing the data in tools like data warehouses or historians and other methods of trying to collect and organize the data. This allows the data from multiple systems to be more easily accessible, allowing individuals of all skill levels to be able to visualize it and trend it. So now we have more access and we have more ability to see the data. But ultimately, we have to drive a decision based on that data, and it again comes back to the expertise of the individual in order to do so. And so with that activity, we still have a lot of variation in our business outcomes because we have variations in human expertise. So as an example, what if a 2-year expert, someone with 2 years of experience, is making a decision versus a person with 30 years of expertise? Well, it's likely we're going to get very different answers given the vast difference in experience. So how can we help that person with 2 years of experience to make the same high quality decision as a 30-year expert? So this leads us to the near future. In the near future, we have access to the data, but we can also interpret the data using technologies like artificial intelligence to help make better data-driven decisions and assure that the 2-year expert has the knowledge and insight, has the capability of the 30-year expert. So in essence, it is not replacing the individual, it is helping to augment the individual, to give the individual more advice and insight in order to make a better decision. So with the data centralized and it being accessible, we can mine the data and offer recommendations using artificial intelligence, make those recommendations to the 2-year expert. And those recommendations can be based on the enterprise knowledge that is actually represented by the data. So we have a significant amount of past history that we can draw experience from. We still expect the decision to be made by the human in this case, but we believe artificial intelligence offers the opportunity for the human to make a better decision. Artificial intelligence in this case is a lot like a co-pilot, particularly where a decision needs to be made on something that has happened in past experience or past history, and the artificial intelligence can find that pattern and make the recommendation to the human. We find that that course of action is very suitable for helping a human make better decisions. We leverage the human's expertise and we use the expertise of artificial intelligence. Now let's consider taking that example further. Let's consider the emerging technology called generative artificial intelligence. With generative AI, you can even make an inquiry in human language that can be interpreted. If the data repository, if you have suitable amount of data in place, then you can get a detailed written response from your artificial intelligence co-pilot. For instance, in our everyday lives, I could ask a question like, I hear a loud grinding noise when I press the brake of my car. What might be the issue? The response would then search the archive of information and report back in human language. A noise like that could indicate your brakes are failing and you might have rotor damage. Would you like me to provide troubleshooting and repair procedure? Think of the power that this artificial intelligence can have for your service technicians who are working on an issue. What if a service technician could make a similar inquiry and get the best information on how to address the problem and how to address it correctly? So having artificial intelligence as a co-pilot can help accelerate diagnostics and repair of issues. So now, let's move to the next slide. If we consider data and data analytics as well as sensing as keys to creating an artificial intelligence co-pilot, like I mentioned, let me share with you some examples where that's actually happening today. And it's happening in the way we drive. So in the past, if we think about how we drove a car, the car is a machine that is to be commanded by the driver. And assuming that the car is in good working condition, when a driver initiates a turn, the car turns. When the driver presses the accelerator, the car accelerates. So the skill and knowledge of the driver determines if the car is operated safely and if the directions you take are the most efficient. It's entirely based on the human. We see these examples throughout our lives and throughout our businesses. The decisions we make are driven entirely by the human's experience, and the machines are commanded by the human. Now let's think about cars today. The car is becoming your co-pilot, and it's offering assistance. It's giving you guidance. For example, if you're using Google Maps, the car can advise the driver if they're taking the most efficient route. So we see that in our everyday lives. Google Maps allows the driver to see into the future in order to avoid traffic and to select the best route. That's a big difference in the way we've operated cars in the past by doing it through human intelligence and what the human thinks is the best route. Imagine if we could apply this technology for controls and in our industrial facilities, if we could see the issues that exist ahead of us and avoid them using the power of artificial intelligence. Another example is that cars are incorporating sensors that can help the driver operate more safely. What I mean here is that drivers get distracted, but sensors and analytics don't. So if you're attempting to change lanes and there's potential for a collision, the car will alert you. If you're approaching a car in front of you too quickly, the car's sensors will detect that and it will also alert you. And the car's sensors can also determine if you will collide with the vehicle in front of you. And in that case, the car will also on you, if you requested to do so, intervene on your behalf and prevent an accident to occur. These are great examples that show how the car is increasingly becoming the co-pilot, helping the driver to operate the vehicle more efficiently and safely. We see many great examples of this in our industrial lives, how we control our plants using process control, and how the process control system can use information from the past to make recommendations, helping the operations and maintenance personnel perform better. So in the car example, where will this technology actually lead us? Well, as the technology evolves, the future is that the car will become the driver. Now, you would ordinarily be the driver. If you don't need to drive the car, think of the opportunity for productivity. If you could use that time and apply it to something more meaningful. You can catch up on your work emails. You can catch up on with your family and friends. You can learn by reading a book. There are many productivity advancements that we can see by applying the technologies of digitalization, sensing, and artificial intelligence in order to enhance our everyday lives, moving more and more towards levels of autonomy. So let's move to the next chart and talk about how we're changing the way we collaborate. Okay. So speaking of collaboration, let's think about how the world has changed with respect to communication. Historically, we all know this story. In the past, we used phones in order to communicate with one another. And there were enormous change that's happened in our lifetime as we've shifted to mobile devices. Communications and mobility have enabled enormous improvements in productivity. So what's next? Well, today we know that the advancements of mobility and advancements of technology have allowed us to evolve towards smart devices. So now communication devices are also content providers. We can use these devices for emails, to take photos, to conduct our banking in our everyday lives, and even to assist with our workplace tasks. We're enormously more productive as a result of this new technology. So where do we go from here? Well, we see a future in which collaboration is increasingly becoming immersive. And what that means is where a human can learn and practice tasks within a safe virtual environment. Traditionally, learning, whether it be in our everyday lives or in an industrial plant, learning happens by watching an expert and then replicating the tasks as we learn them. But what if learning can be performed differently? What if it can be performed on demand when it's actually needed? And it can be performed in a virtual environment where you can actually practice by doing. Imagine an industrial environment and being able to practice a procedure before actually performing it. Imagine if you could use augmented reality to visually guide you through a set of steps or procedures in order to assure that that procedure is carried out flawlessly. We would vastly execute procedures in a better way than we do today based on our memory and expertise and the last time we might have gone through a training course. Now, every time we perform a procedure, we can use the power of virtual reality in order to practice that procedure and carry it out effectively. So now let's carry this through and talk a little bit about the industrial worlds that we're a part of. Let's look at some examples where artificial intelligence and new digital technologies can play a role in order to improve our operations. So I believe that our digital technologies today have an opportunity to make a significant step change in the performance of our facilities. In fact, I believe our digital technologies can enhance each one of the proven technologies that we've employed over many years. For instance, we can use digital technologies that can improve our well-proven control and asset management technology in order to become more autonomous, making every day our best day of production and every person a world-leading expert. My perspective is that we'll follow a step-by-step procedure, like a maturity model, to navigate closer to autonomy by using digital technology. Now, when I say autonomy, I don't mean zero people. In many of our operations, you have to have people in order to assure safe operations. But in this case, autonomy is meant to talk about how we can perform better. Like in the car example, we're able to drive more safely. We're able to get to our location in a more efficient manner by using today's technology tools. So let me share with you some examples. First, by using new digital technologies, we can control and optimize our facilities better. Manual procedures will increasingly become automated. And this is nothing new to us. It's what we've been doing over the last 30 years, applying automation technology. But now, by pairing that automation technology with artificial intelligence, I believe today's control technology, as we know it, control and advanced control, will be more adaptable to changing conditions with equipment performance as well as your feed. This will allow our processes to run at peak performance for longer periods of time, addressing one of the challenges of technologies like advanced control, which is to sustain the benefit in light of all the changes that are happening within a plant environment. So second, we see an opportunity to use artificial intelligence to make our assets smarter by instrumenting our assets with new wireless sensors. And this can include things like vibration, or it can include acoustics or video, and then analyzing that data with artificial intelligence, machine learning technology, and other analytic methods. We can shift our assets to be a lot more predictive and proactive, allowing us to achieve greater reliability within our facilities. This means we'll have greater visibility into how the assets are performing, and we can plan our maintenance tasks differently, and we can adapt our control as needed based on the equipment performance. Third, the technologies that I just described in the last slide around augmented and virtual reality will help the humans in our process plants increase their expertise more rapidly and be prepared for every action, meaning that we can drive towards more flawless execution based on digital guidance provided by either virtual reality or artificial intelligence, assuring every action is performed flawlessly regardless of your years of experience. And when you apply generative AI technology, we can now automatically create procedures for the human to follow to assure that they're fixing the right problem and also fixing the problem flawlessly using your standard operating procedures. As I gave the example earlier, imagine a service technician, someone that's performing a maintenance process, needing to identify what the issue might be, and making that same inquiry that I did earlier and say, I hear a noise, or I smell something, or I see a rotating piece of equipment cavitating. Has this happened before? What might this mean? And those inquiries going to an artificial intelligence repository to give recommendations based on your historic knowledge of what's happened within your facility or any of your facilities. I also see the opportunity as this technology continues to get employed. We have greater connectivity, greater network performance, lower latency, and as a result, I believe we will shift more towards remote operations. We've seen this in Latin America at many mining operations where we're pulling the control centers into the center, into a location where we can find more expertise, into a location where humans can shift to these central locations and monitor multiple facilities instead of one, allowing those humans also to collaborate more effectively and assure that they're employing best practices because they can collaborate more seamlessly in person. And further, we can centralize and shift to cities where there's a more plentiful supply of skilled labor. We're all facing the challenges of finding those skilled resources that are needed in order to run our industrial facilities. I also see an opportunity to apply control and AI technologies in the pursuit of sustainability, meaning that if you control your process better, if you control your assets better, it means you're achieving greater energy efficiency. Energy that you don't utilize is the first place to start in becoming more sustainable. Let's use data and analytics to improve efficiency of our assets and our processes before we're making capital equipment investments. So to wrap up, I see a great opportunity with applying this technology, and we're at really a new inflection point where these digital and AI technologies are allowing us to not only improve our everyday lives in the example that I gave, but to transform how we're operating our industrial facilities. This is nothing new to industrial customers. We've been automating for the last 40 years by employing digital control systems and instrumentation. What's changed now is the technology. Many of the problems are still the same. We just want to solve them more comprehensively and in a better way. And we have today connectivity, more data, better analytics using AI. And by harnessing the power of that data, we see a transformation possible, a completely new generation of benefits that can improve many different areas, including human safety. By using more automation, connectivity, and artificial intelligence, we can remove workers from hazardous areas, keeping them safe. We can use this technology also to improve our production and yield. By applying traditional control coupled with artificial intelligence, we can improve our benefits and then sustain benefits for longer periods of time, even in the face of changes that are happening within our industrial environment. We'll be able to improve reliability by using new sensors, analytics, and machine learning. We'll be more predictive and more proactive about what's happening with our assets, eliminating the need for routine maintenance and focused more on exception-based maintenance. We'll also be able to improve our competency. Our people will perform better by using virtual reality, augmented reality, and the power of generative AI. We can provide a co-pilot that will help our personnel perform flawlessly and safely execute procedures that completely eliminate human error in the future. While throughout this presentation, I've mentioned the future, I want to say now that the future begins today. Now is the time to start learning and embracing this new generation of technology and positioning your companies for top performance, improving your safety, reliability, and efficiency, as well as your sustainability. Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate the time to address you, and I think there might be a few questions.
Well, actually, thank you, Jason, but there won't be, we don't have time for questions. We are right on time, actually. So you have to come to the next Apple conference, and we will be able to I will be able to ask you the questions we agreed.
I would love to do so. Thank you so much.